Hello and welcome back to OT the podcast. We're here to talk about watches, time, classic cinema, and what to do with it. My name's Felix Schultz.
And my name's Andy Green. Felix, today we have a lot to talk about.
Ironically, no classic cinema.
No classic cinema and no guests. Today we're having a bit of a throwback at the month that was August 2021. There's been a bit of drama. Before we get into the specifics of the show, Felix, we are going to remind everyone to, firstly, join our Discord channel, experience the daily discussions, hear the OT news first.
Yep, very much
get ahead of it.
Yeah, get ahead of the curve. Classic cinema discussion, that's where it's at. That's why I was referencing it.
Well, we might even set up a channel for classic cinema if the people want it. Chat with Felix and I. It's the best place to get us, Facebook, Messenger, no one listens to, no one gets into. Instagram DM.
We'll find out why busy. I'm not there at the moment.
We're not in the DMs. We're on Discord. That's where we are, and you can chat with us and the rest of the OT community. And the second reminder, Felix.
Speaking of communities.
Andy and Felix Pizzeria teas, they are still available for pre-order for a few more weeks. So make sure if you want one, you get an order in.
And here's my personal guarantee to anyone listening. It will be delivered in 30 minutes or you get your money back.
Let's see how we go with those international
lawyers. Orders. I mean, when I say delivered within 30 minutes, I mean the email confirming your order will be delivered.
Yes, that'll be immediate. So jump on, grab one, help us break even on this project that we just clearly wanted to get some t-shirts made and celebrate over 100 episodes of OT the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think drama has been integral into growing the success that is OT the podcast. Mostly the drama between you and I. That no one else gets to see or listen to. But also there's been a bit of drama in the watch space of the last couple of weeks, sort of simmering away. There's been a few little controversies, Andy. We're going to touch on Ming. We're going to touch on Panerai's movement shenanigans. We're going to touch on Chrono 24. We're going to touch on some other news. But first, Andy, I want to tell you about why I am struggling to wear a watch.
Why?
Well, as you very much know, we're currently going through lockdown number 6 here in sunny Melbourne, and I've spent a lot of time in the last 12 months inside. And when I'm working at a desk, I don't wear a watch.
I see.
So I find it challenging, and I'm not going anywhere, so I don't wear a watch in the house much. Typically, when I wear a watch, I wear it out. I wear it to work. I wear it going somewhere, and that's where I find, I've worked out over the last year. That's where I get my engagement and interaction with my watch from. If I'm, I've got nothing to do when I'm on the tram or something, I'll look at the watch, take a photo for the gram, all that sort of stuff. And I'm just not doing that. And my watches are sitting in the drawer or, in the vault. Sorry, the vault. Yeah, it's very secure. Very secure. Or I'm currently looking at 2 on my desk. I've got a Bremont and a Grand Seiko in front of me, and I'm still engaging with them, but in a really different way. And it's kind of, I'm really trying at the moment to change that. I'm changing straps, and I'm, making a bit more of a conscious effort to flip around watches and to wear things I haven't worn in a while, which is something I've never done before. Is that something that resonates with you, or is it just me?
It's been interesting for me, Felix. So I have off-site storage for the majority of my watches. I don't like having too much stuff at home.
Your actual vault.
Yeah, an actual vault. And that's been a little bit tricky to get to during the lockdown. So there's stuff in there that I haven't seen since January 2021 or worn. So I feel a bit guilty about that. But what I do have is sort of more of the kind of lower end pieces around the house, G-Shock, got some Halios, got my Bremont as well. Yeah, and I have found that I've sort of picked up something that has sort of been staring at me on the shelf for a couple of weeks and put it on. And I don't know, I definitely appreciate the watches that I have around me. And I like to wear a watch around the house. It's where I do the most damage to them because, you're doing dishes and chores and, knocking into doorways and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I probably shouldn't wear a watch around the house. And I know, a lot of people don't for that exact reason, but I like to wear a watch while I work anyway, because at least I can look down while I'm typing and admire it.
Really? You wear it while you're typing?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a mouse pad on the desk and keyboards. There's nothing to really kind of hit it on. Sometimes I might take it off and set it right by the keyboard to admire.
Yeah, I guess that's what I do. It's funny, and I mean, the other thing I guess for you, and I assume other people are in the same sort of situation, having stuff vaulted for a while, they're going to have like that new watch feeling, like you haven't seen it
Mm.
for 6 months. You're going to be like, whoa, I forgot I owned this, and I forgot how much I loved it. I'd
Yeah.
be interested, Andy, and this is maybe one for the Discord that we continuously plug, but also social media of the Instagram variety, and emails. If anyone else has had a changed relationship to their watch collecting or watch wearing habits over various lockdowns and staying at home situations, I'd be really interested in hearing about it.
Get in Discord. Get in the Discord and let us know.
Get in the Discord.
Discord.
That's what they call it in South Africa.
Oh, amazing. Well, what's the first bit of news that we have to discuss, Felix?
I think it's something a little bit athletic, something a little bit sporty that isn't a smartwatch.
Yeah, so this very welcome press release hit my inbox from our friend Eric Wind. It was a collaboration he did with Tracksmith, and it was a little bit different. It was a pocket watch collaboration that sold out by the time I opened the email. So basically, they were pulled together 11 different vintage pocket watches.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a story, offered them for sale, and they flew away. And of course, knowing Eric Wind, they're going to be
Nice.
the best of the best. But some of the highlights, if you'll hear me out, there was a Breitling from the 1970s, which was beautiful.
Cool.
There was a Galet, which
Nice.
really, really gorgeous. Hoya stopwatch, Abercrombie & Fitch collab. A couple of Hoyas, actually. There was one really cool one, which was the Clubmate. I'd never seen this before, but it had 3 pushes in sort of black, red, and like a lime green, which was pretty cool. There was one from the US government, another Trackmate.
Nice.
Minerva. How could you not have a Minerva in the mix?
Yep, sure.
And Omega as well. So really cool to see Eric Wind throw some weight behind pocket watches and stopwatches, I should say. And it's sort of people like them and they're cool and there's some novelty there, but maybe there's maybe the tide's turning. Maybe we're going to see a bit more pocket watch love.
This little did I know going into this that this would tie into my argument about changing watch habits, because remember John Reardon talked about pocket watches, and people are getting into them because they're at their desks.
Exactly.
It's a full circle, mate. Full circle.
Fantastic. Well, good work, Eric. Good work, Tracksmith.
Good work, Tracksmith. Remember that time I sent you a Hoya stopwatch from the local cash converters? Pretty good day. Should have bought it.
Should have bought it. What next?
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Our friends, it's good when friends do things together. Our friends at anOrdain have teamed up. Well, they haven't teamed up with, no. Our friends at anOrdain have made a watch. And our other friend, Cole Pennington, did a nice write-up about it.
What's the watch?
It's the last in the original of the Model 2 watches. So the Model 2 is their take on a field watch. I have a lovely one with a green dial. It's very beautiful.
You do?
36 millimeters. It's, again, one of those watches I haven't been wearing as much because, coronavirus. But this one is very, very special. It's a limited production of around 30 examples, I believe. And it's got a
30.
fume dial. So anOrdain are famous, of course, for enamel dials, and they've also worked out how to do enamel fume dials, which are very, very special. This one ties in a little bit of their Scottish heritage by having it in brown. And not like some sort of boring, unsexy 70s brown, like the brown of a whiskey glass brown. What do you think about this?
It is beautiful. It is stunning. Sold out. Don't know if you mentioned that.
Yep.
But, wow. How cool to see anOrdain do something a little bit left of field. I think it's a pretty bold colour, that sort of brown, leaning into the Scotch whiskey, but brave. Like a brave move from the brand to kind of do that, and, it's paid off for them.
Would you say a brave heart? I don't know. Brown's one of those ones, like it's hard. It's a lot of brands.
Sell sometimes.
A lot of brands try brown. Very few succeed.
It is a hard one to nail, but with the enamel dial, the way they've done it, it is just gorgeous. So shame we missed out.
Well, next time. There's always next time, Andy. Speaking about beautiful, gorgeous dials, I've spotted something on your Instagram that is a little bit of beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah, I had a moment a couple of weeks ago where I got an email, got a press release on something coming out. I replied, I said, I want it. Got a reply that said, okay, you can have it.
You had money in the bank.
I bought it. I bought a Masenna Uni Racer one of the new kind of 3 colors that came out from Williams' core collection. That is the Uniracer, the rally version. So that is the sort of silver dial with like light blue and a little red touch to it.
Yep.
Really interesting watch. Had it for about a week since recording. So this is a 39mm case, thickness of 9mm. Chronograph, obviously. Can I just say though, like the size of this watch, so good. So good. Perfect. It is exactly the right size. I think we had William on and we kind of talked about this. I mean, we talked about the amount of work that sort of went into putting it together. He's kind of spent a couple of years. Obviously, it's based on the UG Big Eye from memory.
Yep.
With this sort of 2 different size subdials. It's really nicely done. It's a really nice watch. I think it's like maybe like $5,000 Aussie. I'm really happy with it.
So, Andy, in our recent Hot Takes episode, I famously went on the record as not loving chronographs.
Yeah.
Do you think this would flip me on it?
I think so. Doesn't have screw down pushes, which is a bit of a grievance of my own.
It's only 9mm high. Wow. And manual
Very
mount,
thin.
obviously.
Very thin. Very elegant. I mean, the lugs, 20mm between the lugs, tapers to 16. Like, you notice all of these details, and you do notice that William is clearly a watch enthusiast. Like, he's thought about stuff, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
So I think the 3 colors there's 35 available of each for the initial sort of release, and then I guess we'll see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, that's it.
I would have gone that really sort of, I don't know what to call it. The green one, I guess. That's a really unusual green.
Safari.
It was a great color.
Yeah, great color, great bit of green for the. I mean, they're all nice. So I think there's 5 now in the collection. So yeah, and everything, even the strap is just is lovely, and he's picked really nice colors to match the dials. So yeah, check it out. Looks like there's still a few available, and yeah, get on it.
Nice. Now we're going to talk some more about Masenna Lab.
Okay.
This is a slightly less, a bit of controversy here. Let's put it that way. So Ming, who have had a great run. I don't know when they were founded. Probably 2015, around that sort of time, maybe.
Sure.
So they have had hit after hit after hit, and everyone's loved them. I think it's fair to say Ming have not put a foot wrong.
Yep.
They released their first collab watch with Masenna Lab. Their classic sort of shape, their beautiful hands with a honeycomb dial. And there was an issue, Andy. There was an issue with hand alignment and lag.
Yeah. This kind of exploded on social media, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think so. Before we get to the social media, sort of the aftermath, what the issue was, as I understand it, wasn't across all the comments, and I wasn't a buyer, obviously. They used a movement, a GMT movement, and they had to change some tolerances, which resulted in hands moving at different speeds, and it was a quality control issue. And I think for a small brand at that size, it happens.
It does. It does. But geez, it was a bit nasty, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so what's your sort of take on how it went down?
So, I feel like I woke up to it, and I think I find it really interesting, right? Because a lot of people that were really excited to get a watch received a watch, and then at that exact moment, the internet sort of turned on it, and it became a bit of a joke. I know Adam Craniotes, for example, he picked one up, and he kind of was a bit unfazed and stuck up for the collaboration. Obviously, I think he knows Ming and Masenna quite well, which I think is nice, right? Like if you're friends, and there was a discussion that took place on his Instagram, which we should link up because, he was of the opinion that, support your friends. Some people thought that supporting your friends was telling them the truth and sort of giving it to them real, and didn't feel that Adam was. I think, as you pointed out, Felix, there is going to be quality control issues. It probably shouldn't have slipped through the cracks. There's probably a trend that we've seen in a broader sense of watch brands really kind of rushing releases. And this might have been the case. They sort of rushed it out, or at least that was my initial take until some sort of later articles surfaced that kind of brought to life maybe some other, I hate to say it, customer service issues with Ming. And
I think that's probably a good point. So we'll link up a couple of articles from a guy. I think he's an Instagram guy, Screw Down Crown. He's got a site, and he's done a series of sort of articles on basically the importance of customer relations to small brands like this. And he sort of he's detailed someone else has come out of the woodwork having had an issue with the loom on a previous Ming watch, and how Ming handled it based on the screenshots and the stuff in that story doesn't look particularly great. And I think the upshot there was like this guy complained about a watch, sent it back, and then was refused purchase of a watch,
Yeah, they just didn't
a
want to deal with
future
him
Min
again.
watch. Like you didn't like this, we're not selling you another one.
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? So, I have a friend who bought a previous one, and he's got a big wrist, and the strap that it came out was on too small. And he did email, so said, "Hey, what can we do about this? Can I get a bigger strap?" And they said,
Yeah.
"Yep, but you got to pay for it, and it's going to be like months." I think he waited 4 months for for a strap, the matching strap in a bigger size. Which,
You know what though, and we'll talk about it in a second, but I've heard people have exactly that same story, just replace the name Ming with Patek.
Patek, AP, all of them.
It's not unusual. It's
Nope.
and I think for me, having done this for a while and worked with, watched brands come up, and
Mm.
this is part of the business, and it's like it happens, and sometimes it happens with very big brands, and sometimes it happens in a very public way, and other times it's like, you get errors, you get mistakes, and you just deal with them. And sometimes, a watch will be released that then suddenly disappears and is never heard of again because after the press release, because they realize there was a massive flaw with it.
Yeah, and it's sort of, mistakes happen. It's how you deal with it. Obviously, these aren't a huge. This wasn't a huge release. Like, it wasn't thousands of watches. It's still a lot of
40
work.
watches?
Yeah, to kind of contact everyone, organize logistics. Like, something like this could really kill a brand as well. Like, if you've got to organize
Yeah.
uh, re- servicing and fixing stuff and cover all the costs of shipping. But I mean, again, we'll link up the articles that kind of detail it all. I think it's a bit of a shame, Felix.
Yeah, I was going to ask Andy, what, from your point of view, what does this mean? Like, what's the main sort of outtakes for you?
Look, I think this leads into something else that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but it shows the power of the internet, and it shows the power of the customer, right? Like, you can't get away with the same things you used to be able to get away with. I mean, this is social media as well. If you mess up, people are going to talk about it. They're going to make a lot of noise, and they're going to expect you to fix it really, really quickly and have answers um, almost immediately. It's the same for everything else, right? You buy a car and there's something wrong with it. People react the same now. It's a combination of human nature and the fact that Instagram loves drama. So I don't think this means anything especially new. I think
Mm,
this is something that sort of has always been on. If you're a watch brand, be extra careful with your QC.
sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I think there's a few other things that come into mind for me. Like,
Hmm.
one, looking at some of again, I don't have any first-hand experience of this, but so Ming is a brand that's had a lot of hype over the last couple of years. Like, they've been increasingly hard to get, and they've got premiums and all that jazz going on. And I do wonder if they think their brand equity is higher than it really is.
Yeah,
Like, the brand equity of someone like Patek is high, but they've also got a couple of centuries of backing, and maybe they like the watch industry, like any other industry, has like darlings that'll last a few years and they'll go in and out of fashion. I think Ming very much is in fashion at the moment. On the other side of the coin, I think that you do need to remember that these are small
yep,
businesses of a couple of people, and that they're maybe got side jobs, maybe this isn't the only thing they do. So you need to remember that this isn't a publicly listed corporation, and you need to cut
agree.
them some slack. But I think from what I've seen, there are some legitimate concerns about how they've handled it. And I come back to another brand that we both know and love,
Hmm.
Helios. They're a similar scale, one man band sort of thing, and they've had lots of problems with supply chains, with allocating watches, with sales, with delivery timelines, and people have got very frustrated at Helios, and it's sort of there's been some negative sentiment there in the past, but I think that Jason Halios handles it really well just by being as open and upfront as he can be. He'll put updates up of like, hey, just got the new hands in from the suppliers, not happy with the loom. It's got to be another couple of weeks.
Oh, mate. Well, when I got my fair wind from him, sorry to interrupt, but when I got my fair wind, it was sort of the strap was like highly anticipated, and then there was delays, and sort of he was communicating it every other week, getting emails, and they said, "Look, I'm just going to ship it out separately because it's not going to be ready. I'm not happy with it." And so,
Yeah,
he paid twice as much shipping as he needed to, but to make sure it was right because he really cares about his customers. Look, we've all had issues. I've returned watches and had
yeah,
them swapped, and $5,000-$6,000 watches. I've had lower end watches as well, where they've just sent out another one and said, "Look, honestly, not worth us get organizing the
yeah,
shipping. We
yeah,
trust you. Here's a replacement. We're so sorry." Um, it's that classic saying of like, everyone makes mistakes, but it's really about how you kind of deal with it and how you handle it. And I don't know that Ming have nailed it here, going by the pretty obvious screenshots that we've seen.
yeah, yeah, and 100% right. Like I think you've just got to, especially in this sort of internet age, you can't have any laurels to rest on. You've got to always be conscious of it, and that the tide can turn really quickly.
Yeah, it's a fickle game.
Speaking of fickle games, how's this for a segue? Let's move into the ever deepening and treacherous waters of the secondary watch market.
Where do we start?
Chrono 24.
Mm-hmm.
They have acquired 100 million euros of investment.
Wowee. Okay, what are they going to do with it?
Well, this is from WatchPro. Chrono 24 has revealed a fresh funding round of 100 million euro that the company says will be invested into accelerating its global growth trajectory. That's what you do with 100 million. You make yourselves bigger. This round was led by private equity giant General Atlantic with participation of Oglay Ventures. I'm sure I'm saying Oglay
Mm-hmm.
Ventures wrong. The latter is backed by the Arno Group, which is interesting.
Aglay Ventures.
Apparently.
Right. And the Arno Group is who?
Louis Vuitton.
LVMH. Okay. So do we think there's a link there? Do we think there's an opportunity there for something to happen between Chrono 24 and LVMH?
Yeah, so there's a Watch Pro article, by Rob Corder, that he says, while it's not necessarily an owned entity, there will definitely be in the sphere of influence. And you've seen this already. We've seen secondary markets acquired by big corporate groups. For example, Watchfinder is now owned by Richemont, and other secondary markets are being opened up by individual brands. And I guess you could even say Hodinkee is partially owned by the LVMH group.
Yeah, one of their investment arms. This is really
Yeah.
interesting. 100 million euros is a lot of money. What's the take on Chrono 24?
I think this is interesting. I've never bought or sold on Chrono 24. I've used it as pricing, basically. But I find it interesting. I think back to chatting to Jasper from Amsterdam Vintage Watches,
Yes.
where he said that he's never had a good experience buying on Chrono 24.
Yeah, he said every bad deal that he's had has been on Chrono 24.
And look, maybe that's a dealer not wanting to, promote someone who I assume is his large competitor. But what would you do with $100 million and a very large platform of marketplace and owned inventory?
You're growing it. You're growing it. Well, they don't. The thing is, they don't hold stock. So that's the question of like, what do they need 100 million euros for if they don't hold stock?
Yeah.
It can't cost. Like, I'm sure it costs a lot. It's a big business, but I can't see it costing that much that they need this for like operational. This seems like they're going to invest it in something pretty specific. Who knows? But
Well, maybe it's like that sort of what eBay are doing with like more authentication. Like maybe they're trying to deal with maybe Jasper's issues of what was sold wasn't as advertised. That maybe trying to take out those pain points. Marketing as well. I mean, I think they say they get 500k uniques a day on the site. At least 3 of them are from me checking what something's worth.
I find, it's like, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to do with it?
The other thing I think that we might see happening a little bit is I think because this is a global trend, like we're seeing massive interest in the secondary market. Everyone's getting into it. I think we're going to see the secondary market directly acquiring or indirectly becoming more and more and more involved with prominent media and editorial channels.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. It's one-click attribution. You can kind of shop the watch.
That's where the buyers are. They're already
track it all.
What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, I agree. I think that we work in the space. We know the brands want to, when they're investing money, they kind of want to track if it's converted. if you've got an online marketplace and online content, and you can link it very easily and sort of track users to see behavior and see what people are interested in. I mean, you can get a lot out of the trend data itself. There's
Yeah.
500K. That's a big sample. They know what people are searching for. They know what the most popular models are. They know what things are selling for, which is also really interesting because, the old throw it up on Chrono24 and see what happens is one thing, but they have the transaction data, which, I might see a price of a 5711 on there, and sure, you can ask whatever you want, but what it actually transacts for is a totally separate thing.
Mm.
These guys know. They know the volume. They know where it's going. They know countries. They know demographics. I'm sure their customer lists are enormous. So
There's
the
a lot to,
potential
yeah, there's a lot of CRM there.
when yeah, so it's gonna be interesting.
I mean, what I want to, as we're seeing like these sort of marketplaces, the traditional, finding a fun vintage watch sort of plays, as they become increasingly commercial, do you think it's going to make it less fun? Is it going to make it easier to find something cool, or make it more boring?
Well, you're exactly right, Felix. I mean, I think it's going to be less fun. 500,000 people a day looking at listings on Chrono24. That's naturally going to draw more interest to the sport of watch collecting. Prices are going to go up. It also, the thing that bothers me is, someone asked me for advice on a watch, and I say, okay, well, get here. Here's a link from a local guy or a local store. There might be a standalone store. They've got it in stock. It's in the city that you live in. The price is what the price is. And then, I spend 5-10 minutes of my precious,
Mm.
precious time helping them, and then they send me a Chrono24 link of 5 models that are cheaper. I said, okay, we'll buy it from Chrono24 then, or buy it from eBay. I said, no, but I don't trust it. I said, well, then, like, there's a store that you can trust.
He's
There's
this
bricks
guy
and
that I've
mortar.
said is great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, do you want my advice or not? And they say, oh,
Well,
it's cheaper.
maybe that
Or it's the
100.
same thing when they're selling it. They say, hey, do you know anyone that might want this? I said, well, what do you want? Oh, well, Chrono has it for this. I said, well, don't pick the most expensive watch on Chrono. Pick the cheapest one, because that legitimately someone can buy that. So it's
Maybe
good and bad, because the pricing stuff is more available, but um, I also don't think that it aligns necessarily with people's expectations versus reality of what things are actually worth.
does
What
a
about you?
hundred does €100 million buy you a lot more trust?
Depends what they do with it. I'm still unsure of the purpose of that money.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out shortly. Speaking of trust,
Uh-huh.
anOrdain, do you want to talk about the last little
Sure,
thing,
sure.
little thing on our list? Just a little.
Throwing this hot potato over to
Yeah,
me. All right,
no,
a
I can
can of
handle the hot
worms.
potato. A can of
A can of
worms.
worms, or
Can of
as
worms.
Jose from Periscope eloquently put it, a PAM of worms.
Love some
First of
good
all,
wordplay.
Jose, props for the article cover art. It is stunning. It is a Panerai Luminor case back with a tin can lid being pulled back to reveal none other than a bunch of worms. So Photoshop skills, you're getting a 10 out of 10. This is in relation to Panerai's in-house movements. Periscope, well, the man looks where other people don't. Basically, long story short, he uncovered that the new Panerai P9200 caliber was actually a basic ETA 2892-A2 with a bit of a Dubois module
Potato.
added to it. Huh?
I think you've undersold this a little bit. So in the article that
Mm.
he published, he said, in my most recent Instagram post, I uncovered a well-guarded secret.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to include that. So what I think happened here is that Panerai made a watch.
Mm-hmm.
They put a modular movement in there.
Yep.
They they gave it a new name, as they can do, I suppose. And maybe they called it in-house. And some journalists ran with that press release right up and called it in-house and
Yeah.
turned into a can of worms.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? And sort of the press that he called out was Hodinky for sort of not really calling that out. How did it escape their attention? Rah, rah, rah. If you kind of look at the photos that Perez has put up, um, it's there. Like it's got the ETA movement 2892-A2. And I guess the question is, Felix, who's at fault? Was it deception by media? Well, we saw a few people kind of not pick up on this and not look that closely at it. I don't think it's deception. Was it deception by the brand?
Mm,
What do you think?
well, yeah. So I think in terms of deception by the media, I can say, having done this in the past, 100%.
Yeah.
You write up the press release. You don't always look at the pictures. Like you're going, this is you look at it, you put it together, you come up with an opinion, you write your opinion, and you'll
Yep.
pull the stats as needed.
Mm.
And sometimes that's copy paste. Sometimes that's depending on what you're doing and how much time you got. And honestly, my main thing is here, like how many people pay attention to Panerai movements.
That's a good point.
How many? It doesn't have a tourbillon in it. Doesn't have anything fancy going on. It's not stupidly expensive. You don't need to spend. Certainly, from a professional writing point of view, you're not going to spend too much time interrogating it. Doesn't excuse that. I mean, you got to own up to it. And you fuck it up. But also, I think Panerai. This isn't the first time that something like this has happened at Panerai and other brands as well, where they've pushed a little bit too far in the marketing spiel.
Yep. Agree.
And they've pushed it a bit too far, and they've got called out for it. But I'm going to say this is not something that I'm going off script here. They're far from alone in this. Like I had to read the Rish and Mill website and press releases the other day. My God, the number of words it takes Rish and Mill to say it's made from carbon titanium and it has screws in it. It's like they will go down. They will go down to the detail of like there are 56 individually crafted nickel 1278 screws with a unique Phillips head configuration. Like it doesn't need to be that much, but I mean, marketing does what marketing does, and they make it sound cool and sexy and individual, and that's what I guess Panerai tried to do.
I mean, yeah, I think this is smoke and mirrors for sure. Gone too far. Lots of brands do it. How many press releases do we get where we sort of say, "Is this in-house? Is this modified?" What does in-house mean when you're a big group and you've got you know
corporate
when you're Richmond and you've bought a movement manufacturer or you've got several? What does in-house even mean? And maybe that's a separate chat. For us, we're probably desensitized as well. You kind of see, and you go, yeah. For the people that really care, they're gonna catch it.
I don't think it's. I mean, Perez has taken some, coming in hot with it being a well-guarded secret. I think he's blowing it into something beyond what anyone else really cares about. I don't think this is a can of worms. I mean, it's a bit of a stuff up. I think it's move on. I'm pretty sure though we were presented this watch in the Melbourne boutique when they sort of came out a few months ago. I don't remember it because it wasn't remarkable, that the Australian team, they're like, oh yeah, it's a module. And we were all like, oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that's all right. Decent price. Cool. Let's move on. Like,
yeah, well, one thing I will note is that every time I've questioned it, you get the answer. So
yeah,
maybe that's what was missing here was hey, what does this mean? Because I'm pretty skeptical at times. I'm pretty curious at times. I'll say, so this is in-house. And then they say, oh, well, look, we call it the B0 or da.
It is the B0.
But we modify this.
It is. We've changed the rotor. It is what we
call they changed the rotor. It's like, but it's based on this. And you go, okay, and in that instance, I wouldn't call it in-house, or I would say the modified movement, which again, just avoid it, guys. Like, we're talking about communication here, whether it's customer service, whether it's QC issues. I think we're at a point of the internet, and these sort of examples that happened this month show that you kind of just be upfront, right? And just communicate effectively, and you kind of avoid a lot of this stuff because Jose's got a really kind of loyal and strong following, and he's sort of out here, and this isn't the first time he's really gone after Richmond or Panerai when he doesn't agree with sort of their messaging. And I think that it's healthy that there are people out here that have the passion and the energy to look into it. His knowledge just of movements, like the fact that he's kind of able to break it down. He did a side-by-side of the Tudor Heritage chronograph with the PAM 01111 and sort of showed that it was, the same. I think that it's healthy for the industry because there's accountability there that's sort of not coming from, media, or it's not coming from brands. So, I mean, arguably he is media now because he's sort of
it's an awkward line to walk.
He's but got different motivations. So I think this just shows you can't smoke and mirrors, guys. You got to be careful.
Yeah, and it's really easy to disprove it. I think we should, that in-house chat is worth certainly. I've written articles about it. We've talked about it. You've written up. It is a marketing tool, I think, essentially, and it doesn't matter. Like, Yeah. I don't think it's a can of worms, though, or a PAM of worms.
Nah, it's just
Just a
creative writing
snafu.
gone wrong.
It's a snafu. It's a little, someone's got told off in the PR team, you know. Anyway, Andy, I think that's enough news for the week, for the month.
For the month, hopefully, what comes after August? I don't remember anymore. September.
We've got
September.
Geneva Watch Days coming up soon. We can chat about that in a couple
That'll
of
be
weeks.
exciting. There's going to be a fresh batch of new releases.
Hopefully, no in-house movements gone wrong.
Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you join our Discord channel. Felix will link it up. Make sure you buy a Felix and Andy Pizzeria tea as well. Support us.
Caps as well. Some dad caps.
Some dad caps happening.
For the parents out there.
Make sure you're following us on Instagram, ot.podcast.
Yeah.
Email Felix, otthepodcast @gmail.com.
Yeah, nice.
Felix, what else do we want? 5-star reviews?
Yeah, six if I'll give
6 stars, the maximum star.
Definitely. Can I say, though, that OT is definitely produced in-house? Is it?
OT is, as soon as we finish, I'm going to produce this episode.
In your house?
Yeah, in my house. So it's 100% in-house. So definitely buy the T-shirts to keep my electricity bill paid.
Nice, legit. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for listening. And, yeah, next time.
See you guys.